Welcome to Threads of Enlightenment, a podcast devoted to helping you overcome challenges in your life that prevent you from becoming the best version of yourself. Each episode features interviews with people from all walks of life about their journey of self-development and the principles they utilize to overcome their fears to achieve their desired outcome. Ready to be enlightened? Here's your host, Ken Primus.
Another episode of Threads of Enlightenment, guys. As usual, you know, this is my space that I love to welcome our guests because I know they're coming with several things I deem very expensive. That is their time, 24 hours given to every man and woman. Oh boy, you have to learn how to respect her, honor her, and I promise you guys, once you do that, she will walk hand in hand with you and reward you. Will get some insight as you learn to respect time. The other is the journey. The journey is a powerful created the individual that is before us, and Cristina is that individual, and we want to welcome her and thank her for coming and spending all of this precious commodity here with us at Threads of Enlightenment. Thank you so much for coming to Threads.
Thank you so much for having me, Ken.
It is an honor. As I mentioned to you on the onset, I usually ask this question to our guests: how do you serve mankind? And I ask that, and I always say this, my listeners will know, because I'm trying to engage them as well to let them understand that life is not just about the self. It is about this community that is called the human race as well. And so how do you serve mankind?
So first of all, it's important that you mentioned the fact that life is not only about the self. I think that life is actually selfless. So basically, when we say that life is selfless, it is because you are given some kind of tools and you are given some kinds of talents that you need to pass them further in order for you to be able to, as you said, serve. So basically, we are just vessels. If you take that into account, that we are vessels, then we are able to see the whole picture and to shift basically our mindset from perception, which is the self, as you told us, to perspective, which is getting out of the self and realize what is the higher purpose that you came here for. So and I think that in this respect, I think that the most important thing to realize as humans is the fact that our thoughts, with our words, with our feelings, and with our actions have to be one in order for us to be able to encompass this complexity of having someone to serve or having something to serve for.
Yeah, in the religious sect, they call that faith. When your confession and all of that Cristina just mentioned, your confession, your belief, everything, when it lines up, you are in faith, as they say, and when it unifies, that individual is in absolute power. That individual is a creator, and I invite you guys to become creators. It's a lot of fun. So one of the things that we do here at Threads of Enlightenment is travel back in time, if you will, Cristina. And then one of the time machines that we utilize is called memory. And we revisit some of those spaces that we reside for a few years. And each one of those spaces, I tell people, have their own programmers. We have the first space that we reside once we come back from the hospital, unless we were born in that house. It is called a family. And in that family, we have a couple of people that is called mom and dad. And I always tell people, mom and dad are basically strangers to you, and they have their own trauma. And they are both perceiving or making decisions based on their trauma. Cristina said something, and I always tell my audience should know about this. Perspective is everything. And you'll understand as we include and continue this conversation what that means. But you have these parents, mom and dad, and then they brought us into this mix, Cristina, and we are labeled a family. What was your family like?
So it's important to realize the fact that whenever we are tackling this issue, this aspect of life, it's important to start from one premise, which is children do not come from their parents. They come through their parents. Therefore, we have chosen the family where we want to be born in, right? So having chosen a particular family, this means that this will be the premises where you are going to take the most out of it. That is, that the hardships that you have chosen are basically the hardships that you are meant to carry in order for you to become who you actually are. So yeah, I was brought up in a normal family. I mean, basically, I was brought up by my grandparents because my parents had to work full time. I was the only one. Maybe maybe my parents also had certain traumas, and that's for sure that they had. And maybe they did not disclose everything to me as to why I was taken to my grandparents, because because of various reasons, which I prefer to not take them into account, because the most important thing is that I feel that I was taken to the best place where I could have developed. So hadn't I been taken to my grandparents, I wouldn't have seen what it feels like to be in attunement with the nature, to be to be in synchronization with the the seasons. I wouldn't have known what it feels to be when you're walking bare feet on the grass. I wouldn't have known what it feels to have that connection with the elders. So I wouldn't have known how to have that respect towards the elders, which I therefore thereafter developed in my life. So to me, it was the most blissful childhood that I could have ever had. That is living with my grandparents, and my parents would come every week, to see me, how am I, is she okay, to provide and stuff like that. But for me, that was the cradle of childhood, was the most beautiful memories that I have had in my life. And obviously, the first person to whom I said mother was my grandmother. So, but on the other spectrum, like taking into account the trauma that you were talking about, on the other spectrum, I had the feeling of being abandoned. I had it, but I knew that they were there, but I had it within me. And that was the feeling that followed me throughout life. The feeling of being abandoned by the parents, although they were physically there at the end of the week, but they were not there on a daily basis, you see. So you can imagine that when your mother, in between brackets, that is your grandmother, dies, it is like a tremendous, like it's very difficult to express it in words. And that is how, like, I was born in a city, but I grew up in a village. So, and for me,
Yeah.
that was the most blissful moment of my life.
Yeah, being in nature, and I tell people nature is some of the best teachers out there on the planet.
Advisors.
If
Yeah.
you, yes, if you learn how to honor them, they will teach you much. And some people have learned to do that and allow the teaching and the lessons to excavate them from their pain, and some just go there just to lay down and sleep. And so, but one of the things, the genesis of our creation, if you will, is why I go back into the memory. And we were created at some point in the sense of this, our trauma, and yours was abandonment. And that identity of that trauma usually walks with us for quite a long time in our life. And it is um, uh, it is the thing that forms us, that makes us start making decisions certain ways and belief systems and so forth. So here you are, this girl afforded the opportunity to be among some of the most powerful teachers on the planet. How are you relating to others, because you have to go to school and stuff like that? What was that like? How do you relate to your friends outside of mom and dad and grandma? What was that like when you were growing up?
So as I grew up, I was kind of like bullied, because of different things. That, when you're the only child at your parents, you tend to assimilate more than you would have hadn't it been for siblings, because with siblings you're kind of like protected. So basically I was all alone out there, and I always wanted to do things my way. And that was one of the things that basically impeded me from getting to reach where I wanted to reach, uh, because of all the obstacles that I was provided with. That is, you have to do things in a certain way, you have to be the best. So basically, the thing is that my mother's projections upon me to be the best of whatever you are. Just bear with me. Yes, can you please talk to Daniel? I really apologize about that. It was my son, who is sick, and he has to come home from nursery. So we were the only contacts. Sorry
Oh, no
about that.
apologies. No apologies.
Okay, so we were at the point of, so taking into account my childhood. So after I started to enter the school realm, it was only all about conditioning. So I learned slowly how to be conditioned, and how to condition others as well. So basically, it was only from this. This is the moment where all the real trauma started to, to occur. Because being conditioned to do things in a certain way, I didn't have much to say. And my parents were always like in conflict with myself, because I had to do things my way, and they never got to comprehend why am I being so obstinate? Why do I want to do things my? So there was nobody around me who basically was able to comprehend me. And I wished I had a brother. I don't know why. Like it, I always had it in the back of my mind. I always wanted to have a brother, but I never
Yeah.
had one. So at least not in the physical. The thing is the following, and then in hindsight, now as I'm looking to that girl,
Yeah.
I realized that if you in this world, if you have the feeling that you do not belong to anyone, which may happen even when with a loving family, don't get me wrong, like even if you're born in a loving family, you still have the feeling of not belonging to anyone, because people that you chose to be born with, I mean the family that you chose to be born in, are not aligned with your values. So basically, I have realized in hindsight, that if you feel that you do not belong to anyone, you have the duty to belong to yourself. And that is one of the most powerful things that someone can realize. Like when you reach to that self-realization that, okay, I feel that I don't belong to anyone. I feel that I don't belong to this earth. Well, it is because you came to have a different, you came to create a different world if you don't belong to this world. There must be a reason for which you are here. And there must be a reason that is beyond, as you said, beyond the physical body of ours. So if there is nobody around you that is able to comprehend you, it means that you came here for that specific purpose. They say that to those who much was given, they have to carry a lot. Much is also taken from them. That is, if you are given a lot, you have to give a lot. If you're a 10-gallon person, you cannot satisfy yourself with pints. Because if I'm a 10-gallon person, I will expect the same amount of love. And guess what? You don't get it from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't belong to this world. You do not belong, because you came here to create a different world. And that particular word that we were mentioning about starts with yourself. It doesn't start with anyone else. Nobody is responsible for your greatness. We are responsible for our own greatness. And you see, the purpose in life is not to be happy, because greatness involves unhappiness too, right? So that is,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like if you take it as a child, when you feel that you have always been neglected emotionally, I'm not talking about physical, material things. Emotionally, if you have always been neglected, or if you were not given whatever you thought that you had to have, it means that we need to go back and realize the fact that where does that lack come from? And it's the lack that I wanted to experience because I want to give so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, you were given lack in order to make others comprehend what lack means. You were given love in order to make others realize what love means. And if you were not given love, your first duty towards yourself is not to love yourself. Because parents who, for example, let's say that, I suppose that not all of us are born on this world, like I suppose that not all the children that are born are wanted. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it can happen that, that I remember when Oprah said that her father and her mother only met once, and boom, there she was, like that. Life is much more than that. It cannot be only
Yeah.
that particular moment. So that's what I'm saying, that life is more than just the moment where you are born,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I agree with
So
you.
yeah.
I love the fact that you said it's the duty of the individual. And most of us don't understand that it is our duty to get in touch with ourselves to find out who are you? I had interviewed this lady one time, and she said something to me that really was powerful. She said she had to ask herself, who was she apart from her children, her husband, and the family, all of it. And who are you? Who am I? And I found that a very profound question, and I continue to even ask myself that on a daily basis as I expect to expand, to grow, to get more of who I am as an individual while I'm here on earth. And that's the fun thing. We are here to expand and to grow and to serve. And I love how you articulated the response as to that question. So here you are. You are relating to others in this way because I tell people everyone came here with an assignment. They didn't come here to have a job and then die. Everyone has some purpose because your purpose, once you find it, will make you purposeful. You will be doing something that you enjoy. You could work 24 hours a day, and if people look at you and say, how aren't you tired? And you look at them because they don't understand the principle that once you find your purpose, it strengthens you. You don't it strengthens you in a sense. You could work 24 hours, you'll be a little tired if you will, if you want to say that, but it gives you kind of a strength. It empowers you to go beyond that because you're looking at individual, you're serving others, and that's what excites you more than anything else, is to see that other person move through their pain and come into that space where they call, have a new perspective, because once you have a new perspective, it'll change your life. So here you are, this young girl just in school, realizing that she's a little different, I'm a little different. And so you're looking towards, as you're moving through life, you're in the second phase of our programming, which is the educational system and so forth. And that continues for a few years. And you're looking to further your existence, your life. And some of us, we think of college. Some of us know we want to head a different direction. Which direction did you go, Christine, and why did you pick that direction?
So, I picked the direction based on ambitions and based on parents' ambitions, basically. So my parents said, if you're not going to enter a university like without us having to pay the tuition, you're not going to be able to have any university studies at all. But that was also pre-programmed, because our life is not meant to be competitive. We are not meant to come here in competition. The school system is all about competition. So the school system, apart from the Steiner ones, which, by the way, if you heard about Rudolf Steiner, the Waldorf education, that is something that man knew what he was talking about. That man knew that abstract notions are not to be taught to children of 4 or 5 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
The educational system, apart from the Steiner's educational system and Montessori, and there are also other kinds of, alternative educational systems, is meant for you to have a job. And that's what you told us about the job. A job means just over broke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the initials of a job is JOB, just over broke. Mm-hmm. So if you come to think about it, a job and a career, there are totally different things, and a career is more inclined towards a purpose. Now, the funny thing about the purpose, if you come to read Osho, for example, he was very interested in finding a purpose in life until he realized that the whole purpose of life is just the experience in itself rather than the purpose. Because, and I'm going to tell you why. So, for example, let's say that I'm walking into a beautiful field of flowers. Am I asking those flowers, why are you so beautiful? I'm not. I'm just admiring the flowers and I'm seeing how beautiful they are. Maybe they blossom once in a blue moon, and they are so beautifully, like I'm so enchanted by me seeing them. It's just that I cannot take my eyes off them. And then I realized that flower is meant for it to be there. That flower is meant for me to admire it. And that is it. I do not ask the flower why is she so beautiful? What is her purpose? You see? So in this respect, when I'm talking about purpose, I didn't know this until I was in my late 40s. And that is now. Now, at this moment, I realized that the whole educational system was made for me to stop spreading my wings, but it also triggered me in realizing that I have wings. My entire educational system was based on ambition. And ambition it was given by my mother because she's also very perfectionist. So the ambition was given by my mother. And basically, she projected her feelings towards me. You have to be the best. And I was the best. I was the valedictorian in high school, in the university as well. The first. But that does not fulfill me because of the competition that I was talking about, because of the ambition that was not mine. And when you come to realize that people say that you have to be ambitious. Well, you don't. You know why? You have to be ambitious if you want to have short-term outcomes. For example, ambition comes and goes. And I think Mel Robbins said that, if I'm not wrong. I don't want to take her words for mine. But determination is always there. So if you come to think about it, there is ambition and determination. Ambition is just a small portion of determination. When you are determined, you're consistent. And this consistency can apply to anything. But when you're ambitions, they come and go. And that is how I came to realize that, okay, I have graduated from the university. Now I was a full-fledged, so to say.
Yeah.
And then one particular incident happened with one of my former professors of, so my major was simultaneous interpreting English and French with Romanian, because I'm from Romania. After having graduated, I went straight to the capital, to Bucharest. I didn't want to, I wanted to take the big gig, you know what I mean? So, because I always knew that I'm greater than what I have seen around me. Without anyone telling me it, I kind of knew. So I went straight to the capital. I said, I want to have the big gig. I don't want to catch the small fish, So I realized that, oh, look at me. And there I realized that I'm so powerful because I was able to, but at the same time, the amount of power that I thought I have dwindled because of that competition that I'm talking about. So I was the best there as well. I went to conferences here and there in the country, outside of the country. I was so unbeatable, until I had a conference back to the place where I used to study in Sibiu. And one of the former professors said, oh, Cristina, you came here to take your degree, to take your, you can have your diploma after 1 year. Like, it's being issued when you graduate, but you can take it in a physical format after 1 year. So that was when I had that conference. And I said, no, I came to a conference. I also came to take the degree, but I had a conference at the Marriott Hotel, whatever. And they were looking at me and I said, why do you look at me like that? And the reason why she was looking at me like that, you see, because before we graduated, our professors told us, you're never going to be able to take the big gig because we are struggling to take the big gig, and look at us, we are teaching you. So you see, this type of behavior made me realize, what have I struggled for throughout these 4 years? What have I struggled for? So what was that? So you see, you come to the realization that you do things in life, and you do things and you achieve and you achieve and you achieve, and you realize that it's all for nothing because it doesn't serve your soul. As you said, everything that I did not serve my purpose. I was not of service to anyone. I was just the slave of the ambitions of the people around me that were my family. I was the slave of all these ambitions projected upon me because I was the only child. And that was pretty much about it, let alone speaking about private life or, children. So basically, this is how I have seen the education. But on the other hand, I am thankful because without that education, so you see, it's the same coin that has two sides. You need to be thankful for every hardship that you meet in your life, even though it feels that you cannot get out of there, because those are the ones that make you realize how can you serve, as you said, the gist of the conversation, how can you serve others? This is how you can serve others, by always reminding them that they have the duty towards themselves. They have the duty to belong to themselves. And the love can come after. Not everyone loves themselves. There are many people who do not love themselves. It's like a child. You see, a father. There was a beautiful scene with Denzel Washington, but I don't know the movie now. There was the scene where the father was asking, why do you think I provide to you? Like, why do you think you have food on the table and a shelter and a bed? And the son was looking at him and he said, because you love me? Hell no, I'm not supposed to love you. I have the duty towards you. That's why. Now, the same as a parent has the duty towards their children, although they may or may not love them because they don't have love within themselves, because they lack that love, because they were not given the love, conditioning and all sorts of things. It's the same thing. We have the duty to take care of ourselves. If you don't feel like taking the shower, you have to take a shower. That is your duty towards yourself. If you don't feel like waking up from the bed, you have to wake up, because that is the duty. Okay, you don't love yourself, that's fine. But slowly, by taking care of yourself, you realize that that love will also come. And the love, if you come to think about it, the heart in ourselves, like our heart is 100 times more electrified than the brain. Now think about that. Now, if they say that you can realize whatever, you can achieve whatever you put your mind to. Now think about what the heart can do. If the mind can do that, if the mind can bend reality, think about the power of the heart, which is not actually the heart, like the physical one, but the heart in the heart center, right? Now think about what that can do. And that is where serving comes into place. Basically your theme, the theme of our whole discussion today. That is where serving comes from. But until you get to see that place, until you realize that all that hurt has helped you, all those moments where you were hurt has helped you into relating. Because if you want to be loved, oh, I'm not loved, you go and you love someone. Oh, you don't have love, you have something else. If you want to be given, give. Now, the problem with nowadays is that we all expect to be given without giving anything in return. How can you create a connection between people if you are not able to give anything from? Definitely, you're going to stay at the same place where you are. And then you're not going to complain about the fact that you're there, because you are there because you chose to be there. You chose to stay in that limbo of uncertainty. You chose to be and that's totally fine. Maybe you are not prepared. Not everyone is prepared when they hear a story, and I can relate to that person, but I will never be able to do that because I am that is what it's the beauty of this life, is that not everyone has to be on the same wavelength. And not all the vibrational frequencies that they match. We have to have, like, we are at different vibrational frequencies, and we do not attract. Sometimes they say that you attract what you are actually. Like if I am in a low state, in low depressed, whatever, I'm going to attract the same person. That's not it's partially true, because I may not be feeling bad about myself, but I attract people who are in depressed or anxious, because they are desperate. And if you allow yourself if you allow that space where they can see themselves in the mirror without you getting involved emotionally, because if you get involved emotionally, that's it. You can help people in many ways. You can help people even with your soul presence, you can help them. Just, I had to learn throughout these years the art of being patient. I wanted for the things to be done now and the way I wanted. I was like authoritarian in a way, like being the only child, you kind of have that tendency, to be, I want it here and I want it now. And I want it the way I want it, And if I don't want, and then all the frustration that comes into place where things are not getting your way, that is where you realize that you need to always come back to yourself. And we cannot talk about healing unless we talk about vulnerability, because this is where our strength resides. We cannot talk about healing unless we talk about vulnerability. As long as we are not able to be vulnerable and to put that vulnerability, you see, this is a beautiful candle that I have here. So this is vulnerability, if you come to think about it, right? So if I put it if I put it underneath the table, it will burn the table, right? So it's the same with me. I'm going to burn inside out.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to show my vulnerability. I'm not going to open myself to the world because I'm too broken. But if I show that vulnerability, if I show that candle and I put it on a table, I show it to everyone. Look, this is, and that is the first act of bravery. Basically, this is like, if you, this is why we are anxious, this is why we are anxious, and this is why we are depressed, because we lack the ability to show our vulnerability, which is one of the greatest virtues. And Brené Brown, of course, if you know about her, and if you heard about her, Brené Brown is the best at describing this particular trait, the vulnerability in people. Yeah, I'm going to stop here now.
I think it's necessary to get your healing if you're not vulnerable. It's a hallmark of healing. One of the
Exactly.
most important aspects of to be healed is to become vulnerable. And having discussed this discussion with men, a lot of men, we find it difficult to walk across that threshold, not understanding that our entire victory is right here at this place of becoming vulnerable, because society teaches a man that you can't be, you're not afforded to have that. Men don't do that or behave that way. It is whatever. And again, as I said, there are programmers out there. There are societal program. Society as a whole has a program, how a man should be, how a woman should be. And then, as you state, the educational system has their own program. And then when we get into corporate America has their program. We have the religious system, all these, everybody is trying to program you and tell us how we ought to behave and think. And your word, I love that phrase. It is a duty to the self that you must pick up that mantle and walk with it, because who else will? If you don't do it, what? Your best friend is going to walk your journey? No, this is designed for you to do your journey. Everyone has to pick up their mantle, if you will. I know Jesus said to people, he said, pick up your cross and follow me. You got to pick your own stuff up. And so, um, and I've worked in an industry, Christina, where skilled nursing facility where I saw people 80, 90 years old don't even know who they are and have never picked up that mantle of self. And to me, that was one of the egregious things that I've ever seen on the planet. But here is this girl, Christina. She's, as you said, you are, going for the gusto, as they say. And you're out there now doing your thing, if you will. And I always tell people that life has a way of disturbing our comfort. I heard that from one of my gurus that said that to me. All of a sudden, life comes in and disturb all your beautiful plans and stuff like that. When you were planning and you're enjoying your plans in life, how did life enter into comfort zone and began to dismantle it, if you will? It began to cause you to look deeper into self, because there's, as you said, there's a duty to look and to begin to question and ask and all that stuff. When life entered into you, how was that, and what did it usher you into? How did it usher you into looking deeper inside of who you are?
So I think that one of the turning points was when I came to the UK, because I had it all. At that time I had a boyfriend who was in the army, and he had different inclinations. He was not. Ultimately, I remained pregnant. I mean, I was pregnant, but I didn't want him to be the father. Like, because of the certain violent traits that I have seen, I said, I'm going to raise this child alone. But then I was like, I can't raise this child alone. And then I had a dream. I had a dream where there was a person that lives here in the UK, and I said, this person is going to help me. And you see, so the way the life revealed itself to me in the turning point was through dreams. So I contacted this person. I'm like, look, I had a dream that you're going to be are you going to help me? I want a different father for my child. Although I knew that, this is not possible, but I knew I knew that I do not want to live that life with my child.
Yeah.
So when I came here, he was like, okay, I anything I can help you with, I just don't want to see you in this type of distress. Because now when I'm looking at it, I'm calm. But at that time, I was not in my, I was not okay at all. I came here, and at 4 months, this child had gone. At 4 months after being conceived. So basically, it was a loss. This particular life transitioned into another realm, right? So then this is how it started. It started with a life that has started in me and that had left after 4 months, and made me realize that that life is you cannot say that life is less of a life if the amount of time is just like maybe a couple of months, even inside of the
Yeah.
womb. So a life is not less of a life, no
Yeah.
matter how many years or how many months or how many days that life has been, has chosen to dip its toes in the into the reality of the world. So this was the, and for me, it's very easy to leave everything behind. I can
Yeah.
reach to the highest point wherever I go, and then I can leave it all in a blink of an eye. Now I know this is also a blessing, but it may
Yeah.
not be a blessing. It is a blessing in disguise, but it may not be a blessing for many people. And this is where you get out of your comfort zone. And this is where you
Yeah.
get out of your shell. And this is how you outgrow yourself. And this is how you are. The only thing that you're left with is the experience. Why do I say that? It's because when you always have to take life from zero, from scratch, there's always a new you. So it's almost as if within a lifetime you have lived 1,000 lives. So I feel very
Yeah.
old, but still at the same time I feel very young,
Yeah.
because life has blessed me with another child who is now 4.5. So basically it is a blessing. So we need to
Yeah.
you see, these transitions helped me realize and reconsider my whole perspective of life. And then I know that I'm gonna travel. I have to travel. I have to see how, like, when you're not confined, or when you don't identify yourself to a nationality, to a place, to a land, to a name, to whatever, this is where your true purpose comes into place. This is how you actually can help people, by being yourself and by showing them that they can be themselves. Now, if they choose not to, that is their issue, you see. But nobody can
Mm-hmm.
help you unless you want to be helped. Nobody can help you unless you want to be helped. Not everyone wants to be helped. So yeah, that was one of
I
the
agree.
turning points in my life, where, as I said, so because you see, it's so nice to sit in your comfort zone where nothing grows. In your comfort zone,
Yeah.
nothing grows. There are beautiful plants, don't get me wrong, like, this is comfort. There are beautiful plants, there are beautiful flowers. They will wither, at a certain point, because there is no water. There is no
Yeah.
water. They will wither. And then you realize that, okay, I need to get out. Oh,
There's no expansion of the self, and that's important one.
expansion.
Stagnation is,
Expansion, yeah.
yeah, stagnation, I tell people, is one of the enemies of personal development. And if you look in a natural, we talked about nature in the onset of the program. If you look in a natural realm and you see something stagnant, a stagnant water, a lake,
Yeah.
it's usually one of the most dangerous places to be, because there are all kinds of creatures, if you will, that are lingering within that place that is, stagnant, and pretty one of the most dangerous places to be in the natural realm. And then also in the spiritual realm, stagnation is not a good place. It kills a lot of dreams. That's where I tell people, that's where dreams go to die, when one becomes stagnant. So here you are, you're moving through life, and you have your situation that came, and that is a powerful thing to happen to an individual, where one life was there and then there is no longer there. I can see where it begins to usher you into other aspects of what is life about, what is the reality of it, all of these different questions and things that you began to seek and get answers. You had your dream, and you mentioned that dream is the way by which your inner being communicates with you, quote unquote, the subconscious mind and the natural mind, where they kind of have a conversation and you're sleeping as you're having this data exchange. As you're moving through your life, Christina, and you said that, and I love the fact that you mentioned that, one shouldn't keep themselves in one location and tie themselves to a culture, country, and all these different things. Because I would tell my kids, I had a globe in my house, and I would spin it, and I would tell them, this is your world. It's not the United States of America. That is not your world. That is just a piece of property. But the entire globe is your world. This is for you to experience, go and experience. And my sons are traveling all over the world and have been traveling for years. And so here you are, you're getting a taste, if you will, of different cultures and stuff. And I know the importance of that and what it does to an individual. What did you begin to see, Christina, as you are mingling with all these different cultures, different personalities, different insights, different belief system? What did it and how did it begin to affect you as an individual?
Well, I didn't let it affect me too much because of the values that I hold within. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean so when you go to a certain culture, when you immerse yourself into a certain culture, and you allow yourself to be immersed, and you realize that there is no reciprocity when it comes to this vulnerability. I have not seen, maybe I don't want to be like, I don't want to have a biased data, but hardly have I seen a person that wants to be considered as vulnerable within the professional field. So you
It's not
see,
acceptable, Christina.
in this culture, it's not acceptable to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And when you start to be vulnerable, the thing is that following this world is wrapped up, all truths are wrapped up in lies, and all lies are wrapped up in truths. So if you come to think about it, it's this lack of vulnerability that made me realize that, it's as if you are talking to someone that does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
And this was my experience. But other people's experience are different, way different. But my experience was that it's not that I'm alone. I'm not alone. I am surrounded by people, but I'm not being heard. I'm not being seen. And why is it?
Mm-hmm.
Because we come back to the beginning of our conversation. It is because you are meant to create. If you think that this world does not belong to you, it does. But you came here to create a different one. So I realized that I don't have my duty here is not, once you wake up, let's say that you wake up, and everyone has a certain pattern when they wake up. You cannot go back to sleep, right? But if you wake up and you want to wake the other person, that person says, I want to sleep some more. Now, your willingness to help is being perceived as with a different approach, is being perceived differently. Your intention is being perceived differently. And that is how I came to, I needed to go through a lot of introspections. And then I said, okay, I need to have all my skills. I need to hone, if you will. I need to hone all my
Mm-hmm.
skills. I have to see what is happening. What do I need to do? So I always searched for ways in which I can hone my skills so that I can serve the best the people that want to be helped. So, and that is why I expanded my business basically internationally, because you are not confined to a country. You're not confined, as you said, with your children. You're not confined to this place. You're not confined to that place. You're not confined to any place. So if somebody tells me that I'm not able to do that, before, when I was in my 20s, I would say, oh, my ambition would kick in, and I would say, yes, I'm going to show you that I can. But now I'm like, okay, if this is your belief, I respect it. Because you see, there's a difference between belief and trust. Because belief implies, when you believe in something, belief is a part of the trust. When you trust, you literally are confirming that the other person is showing you their true colors, and you need to respect that. When someone tells you, yeah, you're not going to be able to change me, I respect your opinion, and this is your opinion, and it is true, because this is your statement, you see? So you're not going to be able to help me. That is true. If you start with this particular, statement, that is for sure that I will not do it. You see? Because
Yeah.
when people want to be helped, they are not going to doubt. They are not going to doubt. The doubt is different stuff. But doubting in this respect, because this is why wisdom comes, if you doubt, right? But when you doubt
Mm-hmm.
in this particular thing, in this respect, then it's useless for you to be able to validate yourself in front of people. You don't need to validate yourself in front of anyone. You know who you are. And that is why I'm always saying that not everyone wants to be helped in reality. In reality, they want to stay where they are, and that's perfectly fine, because this is how it makes us a beautiful place, like with different levels because we have always been at the level at a different level where the people are standing at this particular moment. We think that we are higher. We are not higher than anyone, and we are not lower than anyone either. We are not higher than anyone, and we are not superior to anyone, and we are not inferior to anyone. But we are not equal either, because everyone has come with their own gifts. And those gifts are meant to be circulating into and they be transferred. The gifts are not yours to begin with. The gifts that you were given, the talents that you were given, they were yours. They were given to you for you to make use of them, to pass them further. But if you keep them to yourself, you're not, as you said, again, you're not going to grow. You're not going to be able to be of service. You're always going to, you're living every day in a body of a dead person. So what is the purpose of that life? You see? So that is where the purpose kicks in, as you mentioned before. The purpose.
So here you are, you have always been, you mentioned you've always been an individual where you felt that you have to create something. You're different. You didn't come here to fit in. What was it that you eventually created, if you will, whereby you are then able to serve others? What is it that you saw that was your gift that you then began? Because I tell people what happens is with your gift is that in the beginning of it, you use your gift. And as you progressively move and live in your life, your gifts begin to use you. So what happened to you as far as what was that, where your gift was and where you began to look at it to use it to serve others?
So I realized that back in Romania, I started to have some to have Reiki courses, and I had all my levels. And then I realized that, hey, you can do it too. So I basically started to have this particular job. It was not a job. It was I was doing it without any intention of getting paid. I was doing it for the acquaintances and then when I came here, I started to delve into the arts of tarot. So I started to realize, what is this tarot all about? Because I have been surrounded by tarot, and I realized that maybe 85% or 90% it was just a scam. And I'm like, it has to be more than a scam. I mean, I'm always doubting. Whatever whatever I hear, I doubt. And why do I doubt? Because I have a mind of my own. And everyone has a mind on their own. Now, what they choose to do with it depends on them. It depends on their purpose in life. It depends on their path. But I always thought that there was more to it than just a scam. I mean, I always thought that there were more to it than just shuffling the cards and just, and just at random. So then I started to delve into this particular study, if you will. So I started to study tarot. I started to study human design. I became practitioner in the end. And then I realized that there is a connection between Reiki and tarot, because you see, when people want to, it's not about predicting. It's not like there is a misbelief that tarot is about predicting. You do not predict anything. We have so many possibilities based on the circumstances that we are in. And that tarot indicates the fact that if you're going to go on this path, this is what is going to happen, And I realized that the information never comes from me. It always comes through me. It never comes from me. So when you're tapping into those neutrinos, because this is what they're called, it's like infinitesimal small mass of matter, which you can find everywhere in the solar system, or even I think even beyond, I don't know. You can find neutrinos on Jupiter. You can find neutrinos like those if you are able to tap into those particles, that is how you're going to be able to receive. You are willing to receive, you receive. You're not willing to receive, you're just shuffling. You see? So when you are attuned, and when you see that the information does not come from you, but it comes from a central data, from the space where these, we have Pleiadians, we have Arcturians, we have the Sirius, we have the stars. I'm talking about the stars. You realize that this is more to it than just shuffling the cards. So this is how I started to delve deep into it. I started to practice it a little bit more, and I started to really go down this path of performing. And at the same time, I realized that there is a correlation. So basically, some of my clients, they want to have a Reiki session at home or distance, but they also would like to have like a tarot, or tarot and then Reiki, based on whatever we have found. Because you see, a true psychic is not the one that just tells you what it is, but it's the one that helps you heal. Nobody heals you. They help you heal, right? Nobody's a. And when they say that, oh, Jesus healed me, and Jesus said, no, your faith has healed you. Remember when Jesus said, it was not me that healed you. Of course, I'm not comparing myself to Jesus. I'm just saying, this is the only person that came into my mind at this particular moment. So your faith, your trust, basically heals you. So that's the same with tarot. If you're willing to see what is going to happen based on the current circumstance, based on your current circumstance, you are willing to change the outcome. How cool is that? Like knowing the outcome, you are willing to change it. You have the possibility of changing it because you know what is going to happen. And that's all there is. That's all what tarot is all about. There's nothing about, Unfortunately, people like to be deluded. They love it. They want to hear what they want to hear. And I always tell them, I want to never tell you what you want to hear. I'm always going to tell you what you have to hear. Because there is a huge difference between, sometimes they are the same. When they are the same, it means that you serve your purpose. When your wishes are aligned with your needs, then you serve your purpose. But when your wishes are not in alignment with your needs, then you just want to have self-gratification, like you just want to be, you're going to tell me, I'm going to pay you, and you're going to tell me what I want to hear. And no, it doesn't work like that. So this is how I came to realize that there are all sorts of, and it's nice that people start to comprehend the differences, the nuances. They start to realize, they start to feel. They're not operating from their head anymore, because the head is the one that tells you, everything is a scam, just as I thought. But the mind. But then when I came with the heart, I said, there is more to it. There has to be more to it. It cannot be a scam. And you see, this particular doubt led me to the wisdom, and then led me to be able to be of service, basically. Because this is, and then I found the purpose. In my 40s, I found a purpose, which was quite a long journey, because until I have found my purpose, I have just served myself. I just served myself. And I just like, I'm having a beautiful life, I'm having a fancy life, I'm going to conferences, I'm Miss Interpreter, I'm going here and there, and I'm just like, I'm having a beautiful life. But it was lacking substance, because I did not serve. Although I helped millions of people, or like when we went to a huge conference, 1,000 people, I just had the impression that I was like important, but I was not. I was just a person that happened to translate from one language to another. And when you see this humbleness, and this humbleness is the one that propels you towards abundance. Because if you come to identify yourself with your status, that is where you're going to lose. On the long term, you're going to lose what's the point of losing yourself? There is no point in losing yourself, because you didn't come here to find yourself and then to lose yourself again. Or you can do that. Why not?
Many of them do. And you guys that have been listening to us and walking this journey with us as we talk and get to know Cristina, we're going to provide all of her information or links and so forth, so you can get into her space and learn more about her, who she is and what she does. How can she facilitate and help you to walk through your pain and change your perspective, as she said earlier on this on the interview. That perspective, and I've said it to you many, many times, perspective is everything. Based on your perspective and how you utilize, she talked about when someone says their perspective that this is a scam, you're never going to learn, you're never going to change me and all that stuff. That's their reality. That's their truth. She would not be able to move them. But when you come open, willing, things happen. And so I always tell people to make sure you're ready to receive. Jesus said something that was very fascinating to me. Those who have ears, let them hear. Well, everybody got a couple of ears, don't they? So I guess he must be talking about a different set of ears that one has to listen with. And that is, you have the subconscious mind, they call it, the heart, other people call it. And you have your natural mind as also a contributor. But when the natural mind rests and the supernatural or that inner being is become the one in control, things begin to happen. Cristina, I want to thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment. Guys, we're going to provide everything. I know she's just touched a little of the surface because she's such a deep individual, and so we want to provide all of that information so you can get familiar with her deepness as you begin to ask her how to walk with you, how to talk with you, how to encourage you from where you're at to that new area that you want to go. Again, Cristina, thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment. This has been awesome.
I also thank you for having me, Ken, and I appreciate the fact that we were able to have this conversation for the benefit of all the people that are going to hear us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.